In this series, we've been talking about the 4 most detrimental aspects of communication that predictably lead to the demise of a relationship. We're going to explore the number 1 predictor of divorce. The principal, most important relationship in your life is the place where it's not only supposed to be okay to be you, but also where being you is wanted, is appreciated. And when that's not the case, it's super detrimental to the health and happiness in a relationship. When it feels like they don't like you, or even worse, when they actually don't like you or who you are or how you are, it's a huge blow. Because in any relationship with a human, there are going to be things about the other person that bug you and that you don't like. But when that moves from being something that happens occasionally to being the pattern, it signals almost certain demise for the relationship. If how your partner is or what they do doesn't occasionally bother you, you probably have disengaged to the dangerous point of apathy, or you're not spending enough time together. We'll talk more about that in the next video on stonewalling. But for this video, I want to really help you understand this variable of contempt that is the number 1 predictor of divorce. When the way that your partner is moves into being something that constantly bugs you and even disgusts you, it becomes really problematic in the relationship, and it becomes a signal that your relationship is on the rocks. What happens when you become proactively or actively antagonistic toward your partner, and the way that they are actually starts to disgust you? And when that's the case, then it starts coming out in your interactions with one another. The root of contempt is actually kind of ironic, because when somebody is acting contemptuous, it's usually coming out of a place of really feeling unappreciated and unacknowledged by their partner. And so what happens is your brain starts trying to figure out how to do that, because this is supposed to be the relationship where I'm valued. And so when I don't feel those things, when I feel unappreciated or I feel unacknowledged, then my brain starts trying to figure out what to do with that. So then it starts looking to be critical and to try to tear you down and to try to figure out ways to kind of even this playing field and to justify in my brain why it is that you're treating me the way that you're treating me. So what I'm trying to do, what my brain is trying to do, is to insulate myself from the pain of feeling undervalued. We tend to cope with that in one of 2 ways. On one end of the continuum, we go to this extreme of like, my partner doesn't like me and doesn't love me and doesn't appreciate who I am, and so I suck. The other extreme of that is going to this point of like, I'm better than he is, or I'm better than she is. Why don't they like me? Or why are they looking down on me when I am the bomb and they're lucky to have me in their lives? And so it's this kind of arrogancy and can actually kind of move into some narcissism, where the brain's like, I've got to be better than everybody because I'm afraid that I'm not. So what does this look like in a relationship? There's actually a universal sign of contempt, which is, it's this sigh and eye roll. And it's kind of interesting. It's been studied cross-culturally, and it is a universal sign of contempt. It also looks like mimicking, making a mockery of somebody, sighs, grunts, making fun of somebody. The heart of contempt is when I'm putting myself up here and you're down here. I'm better than you in some way. And it might be, I'm smarter, I'm better looking. So you get these sarcastic comments, you get this mockery, all of these attempts to like put you in your place. And the irony again there is that by trying to put you down, what I'm trying to do is to actually feel better about myself. And unfortunately, contempt doesn't really do that. So part of this is that it comes back to the 2 primary needs that every single one of us has. The first one is to feel valued, a sense of self-worth. And our brains assess that as, do I matter? And in particular, do I matter to those to whom I should matter? And the second one is a sense of love and belonging. Every one of us wants a place where we feel uniquely valued and safe. Am I safe with those with whom I should be safe? And a place where those 2 needs are supposed to be most effectively and consistently met are in the primary attachment relationship. So when it's the case that instead of having a situation where we're feeling those things, I'm feeling like you don't like who I am, you're disgusted by me, you think you're better than me, it is such a violation of what that relationship is supposed to be. Across time, it completely erodes the foundation of that primary attachment relationship. Unless something happens to change it, is a huge red flag that predictably ends in divorce. The most important question here is probably, what do you do about it? Kind of looking back and analyzing what went wrong in your relationship and how to keep that from happening as you move forward. This behavior destroys relationships, and as justified as you might have felt in your contempt. But the thing is, it doesn't really matter why, if your objective is to try to have a healthy relationship. And so what could you have done about it? And what do you want to make sure that you do your relationships as you move forward? One is you've got to keep in mind what the root of this is, because if you don't fix the problem, then you're not going to get anywhere. And the root of the problem, again, is when we feel unappreciated and unacknowledged in a relationship. And these are the subconscious machinations of our brains trying to figure out how to cope with those feelings. There are 3 different kinds of love that have been identified to help us feel like we matter. One of those loves is what's referred to as passionate love. What passionate love is feeling like you are uniquely special to me. You bring a special sauce into my life I don't get from anybody else. And so you can see that that is the opposite of what it feels like to feel contempt. When you feel uniquely special to somebody, that feels very different than feeling like they're disgusted by you. But what you have to do in a relationship is to nurture this feeling of specialness. It's the best antidote that exists for contempt. So let me give you a really executable way to change this as you move forward in your life. Every single one of us has a reservoir of energy that we function on. And as we go throughout the day, things happen to use up and drain our resources. Little things like the shirt that I want to wear isn't clean. I might get fired from my job. All kinds of things happen that drain us of our resources. What's at the bottom of a pond or reservoir? At the bottom of a pond or reservoir is yucky, icky stuff. Once our resources are used up, that's what we're functioning on. I refer to that as sucking mud. It happens to all of us as a normal part of life. And so there are a couple of things that we can do to address that or to fix that. We can try to repair some of the drains. If I have anger management problems, I can do something to address that. If I'm underemployed, I can do something to address that. But there are also lots of drains that are unsolvable problems. There might be things in a relationship that I really wish that my spouse were a certain way. Recognizing the things that we can fix and the things that we can't is something we could talk a whole lot about. The second thing that we can do is to replace what we use up. And we do that through what I call fillers. Personal fillers are things like exercise, reading a book, watching a movie, taking a nap. A filler is anything that leaves you better off for having done that. And that relationship reservoir gets filled out of each person's individual reservoir. And so if I'm sucking mud, I don't have anything to contribute to the relationship reservoir. And the relationship reservoir also has its drains, right? You leave your shoes in the living room. You don't load the dishwasher, or all kinds of things happen that function as drains in a relationship. A relationship filler is a positive shared experience, which is different than a relationship deposit. A relationship deposit is something that you do to deposit into that reservoir and to communicate that that other person matters to you. Several days a week, I'll open my office door and my wife will have left me a drink outside the door. And that's a deposit, right? That's not something that we're sharing together. It's something that she's doing to deposit into our relationship and to communicate that I'm on her mind, I'm valued by her, and I interpret that as she appreciates. She knows I'm working hard and she's appreciating the effort that I'm putting in. The point here is that a huge part of avoiding contempt, of helping somebody feel appreciated and valued and safe, is consistently nurturing the relationship. Hardly ever does a relationship end up in this pattern of contempt when that relationship reservoir is consistently cared for. What you have to do just to kind of maintain the status quo is you need to make sure that there are at least 3 deposits and 1 relationship filler being engaged in every single day. So by consistently maintaining resources in that relationship reservoir, you're able to keep a pattern in your relationship where you're reminded. So this, in my own relationship, when we're sucking mud and I hear things like, oh, you're going on another bike ride, or you're going to talk on the phone for 20 minutes after I get there, or those kinds of things. When our relationship is in good shape, those things don't even hit the radar. But when we're sucking mud and those very same things happen, they drive me crazy. And when that is the perpetual state of the relationship, you just end up sinking more and more into noticing the things about your partner that are annoying to you. Now, here's the thing. Human beings are annoying. We do things all the time to annoy each other. You cannot be in a relationship with somebody and not be annoyed by them. And so one of the most powerful things that you can do is to cultivate passionate love, proactively communicate that the other person matters to you, that you appreciate them, that you acknowledge their effort. And you do that by doing 3 deposits and 1 filler every single day. If you want to learn more about the reservoir, I'm just scratching the surface right now. You can check out our portal, you can check out other videos. The research shows that when contempt sets in a relationship, it's not a matter of if, but how long it's going to take for that relationship to end. On the other hand, when that relationship is functioning the way that it's supposed to, and you feel valued, you feel seen, that's a relationship where you want to be. That's a place where you want to stay. And that's why this is such a powerful and important variable to understand and to be able to manage effectively. If you didn't miss it, you at least weren't able to fix it in your previous relationship. And I'm doing this series because I want to help you be able to recognize what went wrong, and so that you can understand how to really get your life thriving, your relationship with yourself first, and then relationships with other people. So what I would invite you to do now is to watch the next video on stonewalling. Typically from contempt, we end up in this place of stonewalling where we get really apathetic in our relationships and really kind of disengage as things kind of peter out in the relationship.